Otherwise, we've had a good event.
The Volkswagen Rally restarted in Uitenhage, and before Day 2's proceedings got underway, crews found time to discuss some of the finer points of Day 1 action. It was all very relaxed, with a smiling Jan Habach and Douglas Judd again first off the start ramp, and carrying with them Volkswagen hopes of a maiden VW win on home territory. With Uitenhage Mayor Councillor Gawe doing the honours at the start ramp, Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon with the second car away in the Sassel Ford Escort, with a 1 minute and 50-second deficit to try to make up on Habach and Judd. Only 2 seconds separated Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch and the Dunner Toyota pair of Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz. With 8 special stages, including a sortie in the Longmoor Forests, the schedule promised to be a highly interesting finale to round 5 of the Stanek National Rally Championship. Day 2 started with an all-tarmac stage at Willow Dam on the fringes of Uitenhage, with no one expecting any fireworks from overnight leaders Jan Habach and Douglas Judd. With a 1 minute and 50-second advantage over Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon, the factory VW Golf crew could afford to control the pace from the front. It was a happy position in which to be in, and the onus was on Piazzamuso and Haddon to force the pace. The day didn't start too happily for Piazzamuso and Haddon, and a few problems with the route schedule saw the pair drop another minute on Habach and Judd, who, without really trying, now found themselves in an even stronger position. The day also started off badly for Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch. A gearbox change before the restart saw them pick up a 2 minute and 10-second penalty for lateness, which immediately dropped them out of the top 5 and gave third place to Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Dunner Toyota Conquest. Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris moved from 5th to 4th in the team total Toyota Conquest, and Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding now found themselves in the lead in Class A7 in the Reeks towing VW Golf, and only 24 seconds behind the younger Damso and Aris. Damso Senior and Bonafide was 16th overall overnight, and for the Castrol Toyota factory pair, the target was to salvage what championship points they could from the event. Out in the forests, early mist, a rising sun and dust provided for tricky conditions. Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon could not afford to drop more time to leaders Jan Habach and Doug Judd, who had the advantage of being first on the road. That meant no dust, and the Sassel Ford Escort pair were finding it hard going into the variable visibility. Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen were under a little pressure from Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper in the Group N category, and race cam action here from the Team Total Nissan Sentra amply illustrates the problems facing crews in the early forest special stages. A series of niggling problems were turning it into a tricky event for Class A7 pair Barry Krobbelaar and Mike Burrows. But Team Total teammates Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were enjoying a return to form and still led Class N2. Another steady, if unspectacular, drive had quietly moved a third Team Total crew, Craig Trott and Brian Duncan, into the top 10. And for Pierre Huersen and Eugene Blanche, their immediate objective was to move into a top 10 position. The Group N category had developed into a fight between Blackman and Klaassen, Saunders and Hooper, and local driver Gijs Klein and Carolyn Simmer, who was slowly moving towards a possible top 10 finish in yet another Team Total entry. Richard Behm and Thilo van Vestenhagen were lying third in Class N2 in the tiny Palbin Opel Corsa, with motoring journalist Dion Schoeman and Jan Syme running at the front of Class S20 in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. While everyone else was going about their business, the big drama at the end of Stage 8 was the demise of Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon in the Sassel Ford Escort.
It was unfortunate for us. 4Ks from the end of stage. There was a tricky left-right. We put the wheel in the hole to keep it in the road. And the control arm broke. It's a bit unfortunate. We had to reverse out the stage. And that's what really lost us the biggest amount of time.
The loss of the Sassel Ford Escort now turned attention to the scramble for the minor placings behind leaders Habach and Judd.
No, so far it's going all right. We lost a bit of time here because we got stuck in some dust. I don't know. Someone had a problem. So we lost about 16 seconds on Jürgen there. So now we'll have to work on it in this stage.
With wear and tear on machinery now a factor, service crews were moving into overdrive, and none had worked harder than Barry Krobbelaar's team.
No, we had a very rough day yesterday. I think almost everything that went wrong, but we managed to fix a lot of it last night, and it's going well now. The clutch is slipping a little bit at the moment, but we hope it's going to last till the end of the rally.
Matters on the Volkswagen Rally were looking brighter and brighter for VW Golf Works crew Jan Habach and Douglas Judd. Going into special stage 9, they now had a lead of around 8 minutes over Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, and barring the unforeseen, a second win of the season looked to be in the bag. From a championship point of view, it was equally significant, with the reigning champions set to make huge inroads into the 21-point lead that Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide held going into the event. After the early setback of that hefty time penalty, Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch were on the comeback trail. The Eastern Cape pair were still second on the road ahead of Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, who were now under a little pressure from Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. Fourth on the road was Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris, but the team total pair had dropped a place on the timesheets, with van der Walt and Harding now third overall and well in charge of Class A7. Terrific race cam action in the forest from the Van der Walt Harding car, with the pair set for a 5th class win this season and intent on keeping their championship hopes alive. Behind the Rijks towing Golf, a fired-up Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide were on a charge that had taken the Castrol Toyota Conquest into the top 10. The best the 6-time champions could hope for was to restrict to the absolute minimum the number of points rally leaders Habach and Judd would gain from victory, and the factory Toyota pair were on a mission. Up at the service point, there was the first hint of problems for Group N leaders Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen. A broken headlight was no problem at all, but a damaged exhaust was a little more worrying.
I think at the moment we are managing to stay ahead of them. So as long as we can just do that through the rest of the rally, then contain our Group N lead.
The Dunair service crew were busy preparing tyres for Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, but were soon to be faced with more serious problems at the end of special stage 10. A further worry for Group N leaders Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen was a fuel pump problem, and in the back of their minds was the early demise of the Krobler-McGregor Nissan Sentra with similar problems. Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows appeared to have solved all their niggles, but Class N2 leaders Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper were worried about the handling of the team total Toyota Conquest. Craig Trott and Brian Duncan were still holding down a place in the top 10, with Gijs Klein and Carolyn Simmer going along steadily in the team total VW Golf, although local man Klein was complaining that the car was down on power. Klein and Simmer were now embroiled in a battle with the VW Golf of Cape crew Pierre Hussen and Eugene Blanche, with only seconds separating the pair. Richard Bem and Thilo van Westenhagen were battling to make progress in the Palbin Opel Corsa, and there were problems for local crew Dolf Coetzee and Eddie van der Walt in an aging Toyota Conquest. A flat wheel in a special stage was frustrating for Coetzee and van der Walt, but that was nothing compared to the drama at the service area at the end of stage 10, where Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz arrived on 3 wheels in the Dunair Toyota Conquest.
The rear was damaged out in the open section towards this passage control. Serge was going back up and we were coming down. In Chart's dust, he just couldn't see me.
So that damaged the back of the car?
Yeah, he took my wheel off and his front wheel is also damaged.
Not an event Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide will want to remember, with the pair on their way back to the end of stage 10 to query a time with marshals when they collided with the Dunair car. Fecken and Lukowitz lost 7 minutes in stage 10 via an off-road excursion, and while everyone around them was committing hara-kiri, Jan Habach and Douglas Judd were strolling towards victory. The factory VW Golf now led by nearly 9 minutes from Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding, with Habach and Judd not in any hurry to commit any act of foolishness, like driving off the side of a mountain. That would deprive Volkswagen of a win they so desperately wanted. But spare a thought for Fecken and Lukowitz. Great work by service crew got them going again, but from a fairly safe second, a top 10 finish now looked dicey. On the other side of the coin, Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding were starting to smell roses. The Rijks towing VW Golf now in second place with around a minute in hand over Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris. A great performance had taken Group N leaders Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen into 6th overall in the team total Nissan Sentra, while further back in the field there were some tremendous late battles developing. Cape pair Kobus Irdas and Derek Jacobs were only seconds ahead of the Dolf Coetzee Eddie van der Walt Toyota Conquest, but special stage 11 was to see the end of Michael and Rosenta Weingaard, with their Opel Kadett breaking a steering control arm. Veteran Spotty Woodhead, a former South African Navigators champion, is something of an institution in South African rallying, and along with co-driver Marius Swart was battling to hold off Diffie Moreira and Donnie Duval. John Bruin and Terry Porter had taken their Opel Kadett up to 4th in Class A7, with Damso and Bonafide in the unaccustomed position of being in among the midfield runners. The factory Toyota Conquest crew were still trying to salvage points and were once again back in the top 10. Rocky Reinecker and Andre Pfeiffer were sandwiched between two Group N crews in the Class A7 VW Golf, with the Marere Duval Toyota Corolla now held together by all sorts of bits and pieces. Down in Class N1, Rodney Fasaki and Chris Olsen finally got the better of a running battle with championship leaders Alan Worms and Ashley Herricker. A little drama was not exclusive to the higher classes, and when Fasaki and Olsen were later excluded from the results for a technical infringement, veteran Wiley Harrington and Neil Faree took over leadership of Class N1 in the Nissan Sentra. Cindy Harding, now in a better frame of mind than at the end of Stage 3, pointed out that the Volkswagen Rally had not lacked for incident.
It's been a very tough, very dramatic event. There's been all sorts of things that have happened. But yeah, we're fortunate. We've had our dramas. We've had a puncture, which we thought was going to put us far back, but we managed only to lose 30 seconds on that stage. Everybody else also had drama. There was accidents on open sections.
All that was now needed was for Jannie Habach and Douglas Judd to put the finishing touches to an historic win for the factory VW Golf crew and move to within 1 point of Damso and Bonafide in the championship. A Volkswagen team had finally won the Volkswagen Rally, with a bonus by way of second place for Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding. After a long drought, the Volkswagen Cup ran us over. A gutsy performance brought Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aries third place in the team total Toyota Conquest, with young Damso upstaging Dad Serge, who finally rescued 7th place. The overall win in Class A8 to Habach and Judd, with Classes A7 and A6 going to van der Walt and Harding and Damso and Aries. The Group N win in Class N3 went to Blackman and Klaassen, Class N2 to Saunders and Hooper, and Class N1 to Harrington and Faree. But it was Volkswagen's day.
Yeah, you know, Volkswagen's been trying for many years to win their own event, and I think they've worked very hard in getting the car, in the preparation of the car, and I think they are very pleased with the result.
After a string of second places, Champagne 2 for delighted first-time Group N winners Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen in the team total Nissan Sentra.
Taken 5 national rallies this year. Finally made it. Unfortunate because of Hannes' problem, but the way rallying is, it's really hard and then it's easy, and then you think you've got it all together and then it falls to bits. But yeah, we made it.
Volkswagen also took the Manufacturers Award, but consolation for Toyota, who still lead the Manufacturers Championship by more than 150 points.